Okay, I've got the machine set up to zero this piece of aluminum, but before I do, let me show you something. A requirement to be able to start a project, stop it in the middle, put it on a shelf and come back a week later and resume where you left off and still maintain the integrity of your zero is using a bump stop. This metal square that I've got clamped down to the table here, that's what that is. It's perfectly parallel with the axis movement of the machine. If I were to take this bit, put it up against the metal here, and zero my x-axis, and then back it off a little bit, run it all the way down to the other end of this metal square, and tell my x-axis to go to 0, it would go right up to this metal down at the other end and stop. It wouldn't push against it, it would just go up and touch it. That's what I mean by parallel to your travel. And this one is already set up, so I'm going to leave it alone and we'll go from there. So I'm going to put this piece of aluminum up against the edge, put my touch plate on and zero it out. I'm not even going to clamp this aluminum down until I get ready to carve it. So get my touch plate up here. Now, aluminum on aluminum is kind of slippery, which I'm sure you can imagine, but that's okay because this won't move it. It'll just touch it and it'll be pretty accurate. Okay, so everything's in position. Got my magnet connected up here, and so I'm going to go up here to Mach 3, click on Auto Tool 0. It's going to ask me which touch plate we're using. We're using touch plate number 1, which is the same one we configured in the last video. And then I'll get the message to tell me to touch the bit with the touch plate. So I'll just pick it up and give it a tap. Our menus pop up, which means it detected the circuit was good. I'm going to do an XYZ standard with a 1/8 inch bit. And I'm going to do yes for high precision tuning. And say OK. And now it's moving. So I'm just going to let it run its course here right quick. It's located the x-axis side of the touch plate. Now it's looking for the y-axis. It found it. Now it's going to position itself in the exact location for zeroing. And now it's probing at 1 inch per minute on the x-axis. It found the x. Now it's going around and it's going to probe 1 inch a minute for the y-axis. And finally we're going to probe the z-axis. Once it finishes the z, it'll lift up and back out of the way so that we can remove our touch plate without any chance of hitting the bit. Okay, so we'll remove the touch plate, remove the magnet, and now I'm going to jog the machine back out of the way so I can clamp this material down. Okay. I'll put me a clamp down here. I'll make sure I don't move that. And a clamp down on this side. There we go. Okay, so now I can just tell my machine to go to XYZ 0, and that's where it will go, right where we set it. And just visually inspecting, it looks good, so I'm going to raise up the Z-axis a little bit. And on Mach 3 I'm going to load the file. So everything looks good. I'm going to click on Cycle Start and let it go. Okay, that was pretty painless. I'm going to move this back out of the way. Now I'm going to remove this workpiece from the machine. And here it is. Let's see if I can get a picture of it there. I don't know how well you can see that. But it looks pretty good. Okay, it's a fairly fine engraving. Normally I'd go quite a bit deeper, but I don't think you want to watch a whole bunch of this stuff. Okay, so now that I've taken it off, I'm going to remount this same piece. Actually, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to hit my emergency stop. So if you watch your Mach 3 screen, you'll see the light flashing. Hit my emergency stop. I'm going to close Mach 3, shut it down completely. In session. I'm not even going to save my fixture. Okay? So, I'm doing everything but rebooting the computer. So, I'm going to reopen Mach 3. I'm going to reset my emergency stop. And reset. I'm even going to go up here and I'm going to zero out all my axes. So there's no way I can get back to where I was by cheating. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remount this same engraving or same workpiece in a different location. I'm just going to move it up a little bit so my clamp will still reach. Last time, if you paid attention, this was all the way down here. Now I'm going to move it up. I can move it over here. You can put it wherever you like, really. But I'm just going to move it up to about right there. And just so I can make sure I don't move it while I'm zeroing, I'm going to put this in there. Yeah, I'll stick that in there and set that down so I know where my where it's supposed to be. And now I'm going to re-zero. Get my machine back over here. Okay, that's good enough. Doesn't have to be exact. Connect my magnet. Get this turned around so the flat side is not going to be touching anything. Okay, we're all set here. And I'm going to click on the Auto Tool 0 and button in Mach 3. Touch plate number 1. Okay, I need to touch the bit. Okay, you want to do all 3 axes, 1/8 inch bit, high precision, yes, and okay. Right now it's searching for the touch plate so it knows where everything is in relation to the bit. Now it's going to be zeroing to the exact same location on the touch plate that it did on the initial engraving. It just finished with the x-axis, now it's probing for the y-axis. And now it's going to move up, come over the top and zero the z-axis. Okay, everything is zeroed. It's moving out of the way automatically so I can pick up the touch plate without hitting the bit. Let me take off the magnet. And now I just need to clamp it down. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to put this spacer back in that I used before so that I know I'm in the right spot. There's that one. And here's this one. Kind of a stretch for that clamp, but it'll be alright. Okay, we should be all set. So I'm going to tell my Mach 3 to go to 0 so I can visually look to make sure that my 0 looks pretty accurate and that it's where I think it should be. And it looks right, so I'm going to raise it up. I'm going to load the same G-code file I loaded last time, the exact same file, which is this Q0 logo single. We're all set, and let's just cycle start and trace right back over the original engraving. Okay, let's take it off and see what we wound up with. Okay, it's got a lot of burrs on there, so I'm going to run over to the sander real fast. I'll let you look at this first. I'll get it up there. Okay, I'm going to run it over the sander just for a second here. I'll be right back. Hang on. Okay, I'm going to prop this up so hopefully you can see it better, and we'll be able to take a real close look at it. So let me move this camera around. Oh, I'm caught up on a power cord. There we go. Alright, let's see how close I can get on a zoom here. Well, the lighting is terrible for that. Let me move my light. That should be better. There we go. Now you can now you can see it pretty clearly that it traced exactly. There's no double lines. There's no fat lines. Everything is right where it should be. It's about as close as I can get you. There we go. So that to me looks like some pretty darn good repeatability with this Q0 touch plate. And that's it for this episode of me doing something unusual. In our next video, we're going to be talking about Mach 3 settings for probing, ports and pins, and digitized lights. So that'll help you get your Mach 3 set up for probing if you don't already have it set up. So until next time, this is Charlie Thomas, and happy zeroing.